When a figure like Jesse Jackson leaves this world, the silence that follows feels heavy. For more than half a century, he was a force, a voice that pushed America to confront itself, to stretch, to grow, even when it didn't want to. His life was bold, complicated, inspiring, and human. And now, with his passing, we're left to look back at the man who shaped movements, challenged power, and refused to stop fighting for a better country. This is the story of Jesse Jackson, the legacy he built, the impact he made, and the final chapter of a life lived loudly. The death of Reverend Jesse Jackson has closed the final chapter on one of the most influential, complicated, and enduring figures in American public life. At 84 years old, his passing marks the end of a story that began in the segregated South and stretched across 6 decades of activism, politics, controversy, and transformation. Today, the country reflects not only on the man he was, but on the America he helped shape and the America he challenged. Jesse Louis Jackson was born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, into a world that tried to define him before he ever had a chance to define himself. He grew up in a segregated society where opportunity was rationed by race, class, and circumstance. His mother was a teenager. His father was a married neighbor. Jesse Jackson's childhood carried the weight of stigma, but also the spark of a young man determined to rise above it. Jackson learned early that his voice was his power, and he wielded it with a force that would eventually echo across the nation. His rise began in the crucible of the civil rights movement. As a young activist, he joined the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and worked closely with Martin Luther King Jr. He organized boycotts, led economic justice campaigns, and became one of the movement's most visible young leaders. His charisma was unmistakable. His ambition was unmistakable. And his ability to command a crowd made him a natural successor to the movement's moral momentum. But the movement was never without tension. Jackson's relationship with King and other SCLC leaders was often strained. Some saw him as a brilliant organizer. Others saw him as a spotlight seeker. After King's assassination in 1968, Jackson's presence in Memphis became a defining part of his public identity. Supporters praised him for stepping into the void. Critics accused him of exaggerating his proximity to the moment. These disputes created long-standing rifts within the civil rights community, rifts that followed him for decades. After leaving the SCLC, Jackson founded Operation Push, People United to Save Humanity, an organization dedicated to economic empowerment, education, and political mobilization. Push became a national platform, and Jackson became more than an activist. He became a political force. That force exploded onto the national stage in 1984, when Jesse Jackson launched his first campaign for President of the United States. It was unprecedented. A black candidate running a serious national campaign, speaking to farmers, laborers, students, immigrants, and the poor. He called it the Rainbow Coalition, a multiracial, multi-class alliance built on the idea that America's neglected communities could form a political majority. He didn't win the nomination, but he won millions of votes and changed the political landscape. For years later, in 1988, he ran again, stronger, sharper, and more influential. He won 13 primaries and caucuses, finished second overall, and proved that a black candidate could compete at the highest levels of American politics. His campaigns opened doors that others would later walk through. But Jesse Jackson's story was never just triumph. It was also controversy, political, personal, and deeply human. Inside the civil rights movement, he faced long-running criticism that he blurred activism with personal ambition. Some colleagues accused him of seeking the spotlight. Others felt he overstated his role in historic events. These tensions didn't erase his contributions, but they complicated his legacy and shaped how he was viewed by peers who had marched beside him. In 2001, Jackson publicly admitted he had fathered a child during an extramarital affair. This forced him to step back from public life temporarily and raised questions about his moral authority as a religious leader. It was one of the most widely discussed scandals of his career, a deeply personal mistake that became a national headline. His family also faced political fallout when his son, Jesse Jackson Jr., was convicted of campaign finance fraud and served prison time. While this was not Jesse Jackson Sr.'s wrongdoing, it cast a shadow over the family's political brand and became part of the broader narrative surrounding his public life. Even his diplomatic missions, which included negotiating the release of hostages in Syria, Cuba, and Iraq, were met with mixed reactions. Supporters saw him as a courageous moral voice, willing to go where governments hesitated. Critics accused him of using international crises to elevate his own profile. Whether one saw heroism or showmanship, Jackson was undeniably present, always in motion, always speaking, always pushing. Throughout his life, Jackson moved in circles that stretched from grassroots organizers to the highest levels of global power. He advised President Jimmy Carter, challenged President Ronald Reagan, and became a trusted ally to Bill Clinton, who often turned to him during moments of national tension. Barack Obama publicly acknowledged Jackson's influence on the political path that made his own rise possible, even as their relationship carried its own complexities. Beyond politics, Jackson stood with Nelson Mandela during South Africa's fight for freedom, marched alongside artists and athletes, and became a familiar presence at major cultural events. Jackson recognized Trump at a Rainbow/Push Coalition event for supporting minority-owned businesses and for donating to Jackson's initiatives. There's footage of Jackson praising Trump for helping open opportunities for black entrepreneurs in New York. Met Fidel Castro multiple times, with the most significant meeting happening in 1984 during Jackson's first presidential campaign. Jackson was close to Muhammad Ali's family. He visited Ali during his later years as Parkinson's disease progressed, and he spoke at events honoring Ali's legacy. He was one of the most prominent civil rights figures to speak publicly about Ali's passing, calling him a transformative force and a giant who changed the world. From the White House to Hollywood, from world leaders to global icons, Jackson's reach extended far beyond the pulpit, a reminder that his voice resonated across every corner of American life. Jesse Jackson even appeared as himself in a segment tied to youth empowerment and community leadership. In his later years, Parkinson's disease slowed him, but it never silenced him. He continued to advocate, to mentor, and to appear at events long after many expected him to retire. His voice grew softer, but his presence remained unmistakable. And now, with his passing, America is left to evaluate the full weight of his life. The victories, the contradictions, the controversies, and the undeniable impact. Jesse Jackson was not a perfect man. He was not a flawless leader. But he was a force, one who expanded the boundaries of American politics, who carried the torch of the civil rights movement into new arenas, and who inspired generations of activists, organizers, and political leaders. His legacy is complicated, but it is real. It is large. It is woven into the story of America itself. Jesse Jackson leaves behind a nation still wrestling with the issues he spent his life confronting: race, poverty, justice, equality, and the question of who gets to speak for the marginalized. His life was a testament to the power of voice and the cost of using it. Jesse Jackson is survived by his wife Jacqueline Lavinia Jackson, who he was married to since 1962. Their 5 children: Santita, Jesse Jr., Jonathan, Yusef, and Ashley Jackson, as well as his other daughter Ashley from the affair with staffer Karen Stanford. In remembering him, we remember a man who refused to sit down, refused to quiet down, and refused to accept the world as it was. A man who believed that America could be better, and spent his life trying to make it so. Rest in paradise, Reverend Jesse Jackson. If you're a Jesse Jackson fan, or if you enjoyed this video, please throw me a thumb. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see y'all in the next one.